We're going to talk about beliefs. Beliefs are super powerful. Beliefs run the show. Particularly in this country, beliefs run the show. And people don't even know why they believe the things they believe. But parents, I'm talking to you right now because I'm going to try to squash some of the fear here. We have a joke in the Clovis Academy about kid dictators. Kids running the house, kids pick what goes in the cupboards, kids pick what goes in the fridge. I get that, and I'm always super sensitive about it. I understand. I may be less sensitive tonight. Sorry. So, belief number one. All right, now what we're talking about is if you guys hand over trust to me, and I help you help your kids. I help you help yourself. I help you help your kids. You follow a Clovis protocol. You do the things that I tell you to do to transform the health of your family and your household. So the beliefs are that doing this is going to lead to certain consequences. Belief number one, I'm going to lose trust with my kids. Trust is a very important word. I'm going to lose trust with my kids. Now, up to this AMA, I spoke with a bunch of parents about this to make sure that I'm getting this right. And there is some immense fear among parents with this trust issue. Now, what that is how many of you think that your kids think of you as superheroes? Right? I remember being a little kid and my dad would throw a baseball, right? He would throw a baseball up, boom, and throw it up as far as he could. And my brother and I would grab our gloves and we'd wait. I'd wait for 15 minutes for that ball to come down because my dad threw that ball to the moon. I had never seen a ball go that far in my entire life, right? Dad, I think you're watching right now. But literally, I remember being on Twin Lakes Ave and you'd throw that ball up. And I thought that that ball went to God and God threw it back. That's literally what I thought. You think your parents are superheroes. Now, you want to stay a superhero as long as you can. Your child's truth comes from you. Christian parents tend to raise Christian kids. Atheist parents tend to raise atheist kids. Conservative parents tend to raise conservative kids. Obese parents tend to raise obese children. And what do we call it when they do that? We call it genetic. Oh, my mom had cancer. I'm going to get cancer. No, 97% of all disease is preventable through lifestyle change. 97% of all disease. That means only 3% of all disease is genetic. Now, what has genetic become? The word genetic has become a catch-all excuse. I'm going to have big hips because my mom had big hips. I'm going to get cancer because my mom had cancer. I'm going to become a type 2 diabetic because my mom is a type 2 diabetic. No. Only 3% of all disease is genetic. 3%, think about that for a second. When we talk about the 100% of the GDP going to these illnesses that are metabolic, this is what we're talking about. Fix the metabolic. Fix it. But here's the issue. Your child's truth comes from you. So you get afraid. Up until now, Amanda, she has a 9-year-old, right? Up until now, you've been giving your 9-year-old certain foods that you thought were okay, you didn't know better, right? So these habits have been built. It's your truth. The concern is that you have been adamantly teaching them one way to do things. You can have orange juice for breakfast. You can have cereal and milk for breakfast. You can have fruit, right? You've taught them these things and you've taught them that they're good for them because you didn't know better. Now, again, it's not your fault, but this is what you've been taught. So the fear becomes, if I listen to this Justin guy and I try to change my whole household, my kid's just going to look at me and go, what are you talking about? You've been poisoning me for 9 years? Really? And you're afraid you're going to lose that superhero thing. You don't have all the answers, right? That sucks. The number one example I'll give you is fruit, because I still get pushback about this in the academy. I still get pushback in my email, my Facebook messages, direct messages on Instagram. Everybody wants to fight me on fruit. Fruit has to be good for kids. It has to be. What you're saying is you're begging. You're not making a statement that it has to be good for kids, because I understand the biochemistry. That's not what you're saying. You're saying it has to be good for them because I've been telling them for 8 years it's good for them. What the hell? I need to save face, dude. I got to go tell my kid that I've been feeding them incorrectly for 9 years. I got to tell them that. It's fear. That's what you're feeling, is fear, right? Fear, right here. That's the biggest thing, is fear. You're afraid to tell your kid you were wrong. Why? What's the number one question you get as a parent? Why? Why? Got to eat your vegetables. Why? Go to bed. Why? Can't play computer games for more than an hour. Why? You got to listen to your babysitter. Why? The question you get is why. The answer can never be because I said so. It can't be because I said so. Because what are you doing when you say because I said so? You're not respecting your kid. You're hiding. You're hiding from the fact that you don't know the answer to a question. So saying because I said so is the same thing as saying, I don't really know, but that's the way it is. You see what I'm saying? So that's the thing. The kids get their truth from you. So you have a fear that they're not going to trust you anymore. But what's the quickest way to earn trust, right? We're afraid of being exposed. The quickest way to earn trust is to expose your flaws yourself. What do we teach kids? When you have a question, raise your hand, right? Raise your hand. So I'm just asking you guys as parents, raise your hand. Say you don't really know. Say you got it wrong. Sit down and have a conversation with them. Okay? So I'll give you an example, right? When I was a kid, we were very, very, very active, my brother and I. I played hockey for 10 years, and my brother played hockey for 10 years as well. When we weren't playing hockey, we played baseball. So when it wasn't wintertime, we played baseball. Now, my dad didn't know any better. He just thought that we needed energy. My dad was my coach. He's my coach for all my little league baseball games, hockey games, everything, right? So what he would do is he would take my brother and I to Dunkin' Donuts before games and practices. I remember this, sitting in the back of a van. We would get chocolate frosted donuts and Nesquik chocolate milk. Sugar on sugar on sugar on sugar on sugar because of the food pyramid. Kids get their energy from grains and sugar and blah, 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 and God forbid you give them fat. So we needed sugar to get through these games, according to Dad, right? So what happens is we're playing hockey. I played hockey for 10 years, and I still turned into a fat kid. I was super, super active. Dad didn't know any better, so I end up turning into a fat kid. And now I don't like my body. I'm getting teased. I don't want to take my shirt off. I'm having this horrible time as a little kid, counting down the days till I can lift weights. Dad wouldn't let us lift weights till I was 15. So I turned 15, I start lifting weights. Now, my dad and my mom never spoke to me about nutrition. They never spoke to me about nutrition because they didn't know about nutrition. My dad didn't know about nutrition until 3 years ago when he started listening to me. When the roles reversed because my dad's a really humble guy. So that's the thing. They didn't know. They didn't know to talk to me about nutrition. So I'm going to tell you what happens. I'm going to tell you some really crazy stories. I'll tell you a story about me. Once I start lifting weights and my parents don't talk to me about nutrition, now I got to figure it out on my own. Okay? They didn't treat me like a little grown-up and have a sit-down conversation with me about nutrition, but they didn't know. They didn't know, in fairness. So what happens? I become addicted to lifting weights. I become addicted to the treadmill. I start experimenting. My parents don't even know, Dad, you probably don't even know this. I start taking whey protein. I start taking whey protein during the day. I start taking a special slow-release whey protein at night. I always worked. I always had a job, so I had money. And I started buying creatine. I started buying things like dextrose, started supplementing sugar post-workouts to try to get bigger muscles because Muscle and Fitness magazine said to do it. Then came the dangerous stuff. Hydroxycut. I remember having a subscription to Hydroxycut. So I was taking diet pills. I was taking ephedrine, which is now illegal. It's banned. The original iteration of Hydroxycut actually had ephedrine in it. So that got stripped off the shelves and they came back with an ephedrine-free version. So I was taking ephedrine and I was taking straight up caffeine pills. A lot of caffeine pills. I'm telling you. Why? Just because I had some pudge. Had a little bit of pudge, right? By high school, I wasn't a fat kid anymore. By high school, I was playing gigs. I was getting attention from girls. I was on the news. This crazy local musician, right? But I still had pudge. Could not get rid of the pudge. I couldn't look like the people in the magazines, and nobody ever told me how to. So I just kept exercising and putting all sorts of chemicals on my body. I don't even know what I did to my body. I don't know what kind of long-term stuff I'm dealing with, but I didn't know. I didn't know. And I carry that body dysmorphia with me all the way to 31. I don't like having a shirt off now. I've told you that before. There are videos of me floating around online with no shirt on. Last week we did cryo, and I was on Instagram with no shirt on. Hated it, hated it, hated it, every second of it. You won't see it on my face that I hate it, because I understand this is my position now. I am the guy from Clovis. I get it. And I also understand that I have muscles. I get it. But my brain, I don't see it. I don't see it the same way you guys do, right? I'm always going to see a chubby little 11-year-old kid. At 31 years old, that's what I'm going to see. I go, oh, look at that guy in the picture. That guy has pecs and biceps. But it doesn't connect with my brain that it's me. It's literally a different person. Because I didn't learn this stuff. I had to figure my way through it. But Dad and Mom didn't know better. Right? So now, fast forward, my dad is an absolute savage because for the last 3 years, he's listened to me. We've revamped his entire diet. He went to a low-carb paleo diet. He lifts weights with me. He's now 59 years old with biceps, abs, and he can deadlift over 300 pounds. He's a monster. He's barely the same species as most 59-year-olds. Like, it's ridiculous. You should see him with a chain around his waist and a 45-pound plate doing pull-ups. It's ridiculous, right? Because he listened to me and he learned. Now, if you talk to my dad, he will be the first person to say, I got this very wrong. I used to make Justin cinnamon sugar toast on white bread for breakfast when I got him out of bed for school in the morning. Right? He'll be the first one to tell you that he got it wrong. But you have to be willing to do that. So that takes me to one of my favorite quotes of all time, which is learn, unlearn, and relearn. Learn, unlearn, relearn. We post this on Instagram all the time. It's one of my favorite quotes of all time. Learn, unlearn, relearn. You learn something, that's great. When new science comes out and you have clear-cut evidence that is irrefutable, you change your mind. And then you relearn. Unlearn the stuff that was incorrect and relearn. If you talk to somebody from 5 years ago, I've been making nutrition plans for people for 5 years now. Think about that. It's crazy. When you go talk to someone that I made a plan for 5 years ago, I gave them all a cheat day. A cheat day, and I said, go crazy. Drink beer, drink Carvel ice cream cake, get a blooming onion from Ruby Tuesdays, because that's what my personal trainer at the time taught me to do. Right? I didn't know any better. So now you can't come back 5 years later and say, well, dude, you gave me a plan 5 years ago and you told me cheat days and now you don't even suggest a cheat meal. This is crazy. I can't trust you. No, I'm humbly telling you I didn't have information back then. I hadn't studied biochemistry. I didn't know anything about biochemistry then. I didn't know the damage of cheat days. Now I know. I have some new evidence, and my evidence is clear cut. You have proof of it in the transformations that I make happen. So I know what I'm doing now. You get to learn from my experience. You don't have to guess. But learn, unlearn, relearn is very, very important, because this superhero mentality that we have as parents is very, very dangerous. It's the same thing as people say, never meet your idols, right? Never meet your idols, because they say you're going to be let down. Because your idols are usually a celebrity, you don't see the ins and outs. It's a little different now for the generation under me, like millennials and younger. We get to see our celebrities. We get to see them on Instagram when they have meltdowns, crazy Kanye West stuff, all that. We get to see some behind the scenes stuff. But generally speaking, it's like these celebrities, you don't want to meet them because you're going to be let down because their flaws are exposed, right? That's what parents are afraid of. They don't want their flaws exposed. You know, I don't want to, so I was talking to one of the moms in the group. I'm not going to throw the name out there. But she said, you don't know what it's like. You're sitting here telling me that sugar, that people are trying to poison my kids with sugar. They're trying to poison my kids, poison my kids, poison my kids. You don't know what it's like to wake up and look in the mirror and look at yourself and say, I'm the one poisoning my kid. That's what she said to me. It breaks my heart, man. I get it. I get it. But you didn't have the information. You can't beat yourself up for that. Now you have the information. You have the information, so you have a moral obligation at this point to do better for these kids. That's what it is. It's a moral obligation. Once you know the truth about sugar and carbohydrates and all these things, you have a moral obligation at that point. Help your kids out, but you need to sit down with them like little grown-ups, and you need to talk to them about it. There's Bryce. All right, so I want to explain something to you. Sean came to me. Sean and her husband have had incredible transformations. All their clothes are fitting different. They've lost a couple pounds. Sean likes to comment about how she's lost a whole bunch of inches but not a whole bunch of pounds, and she has to get it out of her head to get on the scale, right? We always talk about the scale. So she has Bryce on board, and she gave me permission to share this picture and everything and tell you Bryce's story. So Bryce is now down 15 pounds in 10 days. 15 pounds in 10 days. Think about that, okay? Now, and look at that picture, right? This 15 pounds in 10 days, do you know what this is going to do? Do you think that Bryce doesn't trust his mom? That he's gonna have less trust in his mom after this? Think about that for a second, right? So I know that Sean herself has experimented with different diets and all these different things, the whole roller coaster thing that everybody's had their whole life. So trust me, Bryce is seeing the roller coaster. He's seeing mommy try different things, this roller coaster and everything, and I'm sure mommy's been pretty adamant that one way of doing things is the right way at different times, right? And then maybe changed her mind. So I want you to think about it. Mom has introduced Bryce to the Clovis protocol. Justin didn't. I didn't introduce Bryce to anything. Bryce doesn't know me. Bryce isn't in the Clovis Academy. So now Mom has introduced a new way of life to Bryce that has changed his life for the better. He's lost 15 pounds in 10 days, and he's super excited to get fitted for his tux for prom. He has prom coming up. She said he's crazy excited, and it brings tears to her eyes because of how excited he is for this prom. Because he feels good about himself, feels good about his body, right? Do you think that he's going to turn around and not trust Mom? Or do you think he's going to trust Mom more? right? He's going to say, Mom admitted that she got this wrong, and she taught me how to fix it. And she sat down, and she talked to me about it. She introduced me to a whole new way of thinking, a whole new way of eating. She helped me set up an app. She helped me track. And I lost 15 pounds in 10 days, and now I'm super excited. I feel good about myself. Are you kidding me? I mean, these are like lifelong memories that are never going to go away. You're getting closer to your kid. Do not worry about losing your kid's trust. If I looked back now, like my dad allowing me to transform his health, I trust him so much. That's the kind of role model I want. Someone who will raise their hand and humbly admit, I got this wrong. Can you show me a different way? Raise your hand. That's what Dad did. Dad said, man, Justin, you've gone deep with this research stuff and your body's changing and you seem really healthy and you seem super happy and I think I want to learn about this. That's a role model that I get. You know, that's my role model, raising his hand, saying, Justin, I'm really sorry I got this wrong. Dad will probably tell you right now in the comments he got it wrong. He remembers cinnamon sugar toast that he made for me. He remembers having pancake eating contests with all my cousins, right? I had the household record. I ate 13 pancakes in one sitting. I'm not kidding. That's a real thing. He'll tell you about it. So he knows he was wrong. Now, when Dad comes back to me and lets me transform his life and says, yeah, son, let's do this together. I have memories with my dad that most people will never have with their dads. Because we get to work out together. We get to exercise together. There's Dad doing ARX. That's great. There's my 59-year-old dad. That's about a 2,000-pound leg press, by the way. He's an absolute monster. So we have all these great experiences together that we wouldn't have had. And I trust him more than I've ever trusted him before. That's a fantastic role model. Someone who puts their hand up and says, I got it wrong, and then sits me down and says, let's talk about this. Now, what would it be like if here I am at 31 years old, and I'm healthier than I've ever been, I'm happier than I've ever been, and I talk to my dad about it, and he goes, you got lucky. I had it right. I did the best I could for you kids. I did everything in my power to make sure you were healthy, and I stand by that decision. You needed that toast. You needed that donut before hockey. Blah, 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 blah. My trust for Dad would go out the window. Instead, I want that role model who stands up and admits when they were wrong. I debated talking about this. Literally debated talking about this because parents get real sensitive with me really quick if I even hint that they've done something incorrectly. But I'm telling you, it's not your fault. So you have to get past that whole we've done something wrong, stand up and raise your hand and say, okay, dude, there's an obesity epidemic among little kids and I want to help. I want to help. I don't want my kid to be a statistic. I don't want my family to be a statistic. Raise your hand. Raise your hand. I'm right here. I'm right here. Justin at clovisculture.com. Raise your hand. I got you. I'll talk to your kid. Whatever you need. Okay? Let's fix this together. Your kid will trust you more, I promise. But it can't be a dictatorship. It can't be, well, Mommy, last week I could have fruit and this week I can't. Yup, that's just the way it is. Sit down and eat it or go to your room. Those days are behind you. Okay? We can work on this together. Let's take a break.